And happy 2025, everybody. I cannot believe we've made it. We've survived 2024. And I am just so excited for what's ahead in the new year. If you're brand new to our show, you're just finding us, you are in the right spot. If you're looking for tips and strategies of how to declutter and organize your spaces, improve relationships, improve communication, and get through all of the junk that is holding you back, then come along for the ride. We are here for it. I'm really excited that this month, my good friend Kate Huffnagel from the Digital Wrangler is the sponsor for our episodes. If you're not familiar with Kate, and you've probably heard our kind of ads and promotions before, but her business gives you the peace of mind to organize all of life's most important documents so that you have everything, not just for yourself, but that you can share it or leave it for those who will need it in the event that something happens. So we're talking about a very important part of organizing your life. And so you'll be hearing as the weeks and months go by more and more about her offerings and why we've chosen to partner with Kate and the Digital Wrangler. But if you want to learn more specifically, you can go visit this link, which is thedigitalwrangler.com/TOL for this organized life. And if you decide that you want to embark on one of her digital organizing services, you can get 10% off. So it's a great thing. And especially if organizing your passwords, your legacy, your documents is on your radar for 2025. But more about that to come. Today's episode, I figured let's kick 2025 off with a bang. And I'm not sure what the official, when we drop this, what the official title is going to be, but it's basically, I want to talk about some of the biggest mistakes that people make and how to avoid them when it comes to New Year's resolution. And I'm going to be piloting this new methodology, and I'm taking you guys along for the ride on how we can approach organization in our life. Because if you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that I look at clutter as a symptom of something bigger that's going on. And we get frustrated with the byproduct, right? We get frustrated with the clothes on the floor, the dishes in the sink, the running around like a chicken with its head cut off, like all of those things, carrying the mental load by yourself. And all of that is really just a symptom of something bigger. It could be not being able to say no, or not being able to set boundaries, or not having a supportive partner, all of these other things that play in, or not delegating enough, trying to be a little bit of a control freak or OCD about things. So all of these different behind the scenes layers contribute to what probably brought you here, which is feeling overwhelmed and anxious and frustrated about clutter in your life, or a lack of organization. And so we're going to be walking through 5 key areas, and I'm going to highlight each one of them, but I want to give you a little snippet about how in the following weeks, we're going to be going deeper in each of these areas. So I'm going to give you first a highlight of all the 5. So the first one is your physical clutter, right? Your physical clutter is the stuff that we see. And that is, again, what most people think about when they think about clutter. Then the second piece is going to be your emotional disorganization. And this, in the frame of reference that I'm talking about, this is about relationships. And a lot of times that has to do with guilt. It has to do with people pleasing. It has to do with boundaries, all of these things. So we're going to talk about the emotional health and well-being and clutter in your life surrounding that. The third type is something that most of us are familiar with, which is what I call calendar clutter, that being overscheduled, that having more things on your to-do list than time to complete them. And I know many of us took a few days off or maybe even a week off between Christmas and New Year's. So you might be coming in feeling a little bit recharged, but just like when we come back from vacation, oftentimes it's like we come back and it's if we have never left. We're feeling as overwhelmed as before we even left for our trip. So we're going to try to do some things and impart some strategies and systems so that you don't feel like you are right back where you started from. The excuse me, the fourth area that we're going to talk about is digital clutter. And again, there's so many kind of spokes in that wheel that we will be unpacking. We can talk about emails, we could talk about files, we could talk about photos, we could talk about social media. There is you know, so many different layers to the growth of digital clutter in our lives. And I oftentimes say that digital clutter is sneaky and damaging because we don't see it, right? We don't, it's like you don't tangibly see 10,000 emails, but they're there and they weigh you down. So you don't see them the way you see a stack of 10,000 papers, but they are there. So we're going to be talking about that. And then the fifth area is financial. Now, I'm not a financial expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I am somebody who I would say borders a little bit on the I don't want to say obsessive, but I'm very invested in budgeting and staying out of debt. And I know for a lot of people who struggle with disorganization in their lives, excuse me, one of the areas when I'm consulting with people that I talk to them about is what's the health of your finances? And a lot of people don't have a good solid pulse check on their finances. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how all of these are related. And so just kind of letting you know, if you are new here, these are the different types of conversations and things that we talk about. We talk about other things as well, but these are kind of those 5 main buckets of clutter that we're going to keep circling back to throughout the year. Now, going back to my original topic for today, are how can we avoid making some of the mistakes that we often make when it comes to New Year's resolutions? And a lot of people are not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. They set goals. I think a lot of it's semantics, but most of us, I would say, or a large majority of the people, at least the people that listen to my show, are people that say, I want to start improving this particular something in my life at the start of a new year. Maybe you're going to eat better. Maybe you're going to exercise better. Maybe you're going to gossip less. Maybe you are going to try to be less of a helicopter parent. Maybe you're going to try to, I don't know, fill in the blank. But one of the things when it comes to New Year's resolutions that we've talked about before, but it bears repeating, is how so many people set these intentions or goals or resolutions, but they don't have a solid plan of action of how they're going to achieve it. So they set this goal and then they just like wait for it to happen, or they just hope it happens, or they just white knuckle it through it happening. And I've make the analogy all the time about running. I'm not even a runner anymore. I used to run, but not really anymore. And I say you could set a goal of running a marathon. You can even go out and buy the most expensive running shoes on the market. But you can read running books and journals or YouTube videos or whatever it is. But unless you get up every single day and start to practice and do a walk to jog, jog to run on a consistent basis, you are not going to be able to improve, right? Wanting to do something is the first step. It's what I call the buy-in. And a lot of people, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, they have that. They're like, I'm done. I'm doing a dry January. I'm doing whatever it is. And I'm going to go all in on this. And one of two things happen. They either go in from 0 to 100, where it's not sustainable, where it's like, okay, we're doing this at such an extreme and that it's just nothing that we're going to realistically be able to keep up. Or we say we're going to develop these specific healthy habits, and yet we don't know how to go about doing them. And the beauty of organizing or decluttering, depending on kind of which side you're on, is that it's a learned skill. Some people are naturally born with the organizing gene where they feel like, hey, I can just look at a space and, kind of have an idea of how to lay it out, or I'm very naturally disciplined about, not having too much volume and cycling things in and out on a schedule. But if you aren't either A, intuitively like that, or B, if you haven't had that modeled behavior, if you grew up in a house with a lot of clutter where there's a lot of disorganization, oftentimes that is what your norm is. And so you don't know any other way. It's like anything else. It's being taught how to drive, or being taught an instrument, or being taught a sport. If you haven't been given the tools to have in your toolbox to know how to actually go ahead and keep a ordered pantry or an organized closet or a decluttered garage, then it's unrealistic for you to think that it's just going to magically happen. And just because you say, I'm resolving in 2025 to, not, come home to a sink full of dishes, we have to figure out, we have to like reverse engineer it and go, what do we have to do in order to make that happen? And that for so many people is that missing link. That is the gap where people struggle. And they either are looking at unrealistic like ways to go about doing it, of just thinking, well, I'm just not going to have anything, or I'm just going to every single morning I'm going to get up and do the laundry and do everything. Meanwhile, you have like, you know, three kids that you have to get out, and you got to take care of the dog and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, wait, I'm not gonna be able to meditate for an hour, right? Unless I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want to do that. So I think you have to think about what is realistically doable in my life. And so step one is, what is the goal that you want to have, right? What is this resolution? What is this intention? What is this goal when it comes to decluttering or organizing a specific area of your life? So, what is that? So, that's the first one. The second one is being really specific about what that looks like. What does that not just look like, but what does it feel like? Why do you want that? What is it that you are hoping to achieve or hoping to feel once that is achieved? I want to walk in the door and I want to feel peaceful. I don't want to be yelling at my kids in the morning. I want to, whatever that looks like. So, you need to articulate why this is important to us. Not just that you want it, but what's your why behind it? Because that is really what's going to drive you in those dark moments when you don't feel like doing it, when you're feeling defeated, when you're not seeing the progress that you want. That why is what's going to be that like internal motivator for you to say, this is why we need to keep going. I know I don't feel like working out, but you know what? I really know that it's better for my health, or I really want to set my kid up with good, healthy habits, or whatever that reason is for you. So that's going to be the second thing. The third thing is, I want you to be really specific and look at which of these five areas does this particular organizing goal, resolution, intention check. Does it check physical clutter? Does it check emotional clutter? Does it check calendar clutter, digital clutter, or financial clutter? Now, here's the thing, it can check more than one. And because so many of these five areas are intertwined. And so look at what is the biggest area that it's going to impact. And then there's probably side things, like think about it. If you're like, I want to buy less stuff, right? I find that I just go and I emotionally shop when I'm stressed, right? And so I want to find a healthier coping mechanism. So maybe your driver is that emotional piece, right? I want to have a better coping strategy for my, when I'm feeling frustrated, or when I have a fight with my spouse. The first thing I do is I go and I do some retail therapy. So we need to find a healthier habit. But then what is that going to also do? That's going to reduce our amount of physical clutter that we bring into our homes. That is also going to reduce the amount of financial clutter because we are spending less, so that impacts our finances less. And depending on what it is, it could have an impact with our digital life. So we're looking at all the other components of areas that it can affect. So you want to be able to be, again, very specific about what it is that you want to improve, why you want to improve it, and what areas that is going to be, and what areas of clutter and organization that's going to impact. Because if we just say we want to do this one thing, I want to have an organized pantry, and we just leave it at that and put a period at the end of that sentence, that is only setting us up for short-term success. It's not going to give us that sustainable thing. You could hire somebody, because that's easy. You could hire somebody, you could do it once, but you're not really looking at changing the behavior. And so much of living an organized life has to do with the behavior change associated with the task, right? Getting in that habit of, I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier so that I can work out. I'm going to get off my phone 30 minutes, I'm going to scroll on my phone 30 minutes less so that I can prep tomorrow's lunches. Those are the intentional, very specific, actionable things that you can do to help make these resolutions stick. And that's where so many people fall off the wagon. So if that's you and you are somebody that's saying, yes, I want to make some changes. Here's some areas that I want to improve on. I'm just not sure how to go about doing it. That's okay. We can research the how. I think it's really important to nail down the why first. And then if you don't know the how, this is where we come in. We're here to help you with the step by step. And we can do that through our podcast. We can do that through group coaching. We could do that through our past YouTube episodes, maybe some of our digital checklists, you name it. So leave the how to us, and we can help you with that if that's an area where you're struggling, and you focus in on the what and the why. And if you can do that, you are going to be setting yourself up for success and not be one of those like statistics of, 5 weeks after the new year, 80% of the people's resolutions have fallen by the wayside. And don't quote me on that. I don't know the exact number, but you know what I'm saying? And I think we've all heard it before. So I don't want you to be a statistic in that sense of the words. I want you to thrive. And if you are committed to making 2025 more organized and less cluttered in any of those 5 areas, physical, emotional, relational, calendar, digital, financial, we're here for it. We've got tons and tons of resources on our website. Our website's simply the letter B, like boy, organized.com. That's our parent company, Simply Be Organized. That's our brick and mortar organizing company. But we've got tons and tons of stuff for you there. We also have professional organizers who we partner with all over. So if you're looking for some one-on-one help in your neck of the woods, we can point you in that direction. And if you are a professional organizer and you just stumbled across us, or you're an organizing junkie and you love organizing and you are thinking about doing this professionally, let's chat, because I personally do coaching and mentoring twice a year for professional and aspiring professional organizers. And we've got a cohort that's coming up in February. So I would love to chat with you about that and help you turn your passion into a profession. So I think that's it for today. It's a lot to leave you with on this first Thursday of January 2025. And I look forward to having you join us along in all of the things this year. And until next week,